I live a life that I once only dreamed about. I make more money than almost anybody I know. I go on vacation several times a year. I live in a high-rise apartment on the 30th floor of my apartment. I work only 4 to 5 hours a day, which I'm not actually very proud of. It's more of a, something that bothers me. I feel like I don't work enough and it stresses me out a little bit. Funny enough, I make a lot of money and I still am very stressed. But by all things measured, like, my life is great. I recently got married. I have way more money than I need right now, thank God. And I don't say all that to brag. I mean, I remember just 4 years ago how stressed I was about money and about my situation, and transparently financial stress and not knowing what I wanted to do for a career, and bouncing around from dead-end job to bad job was the biggest sense of stress, or the biggest source of stress in my 20s. I can't explain to you how hopeless I felt and like I needed a sense of direction, and how that really bothered me in my 20s. And I'm so thankful that I have this now. And I don't want to make this video to brag, but more so to share with anybody watching who is in that same situation, who's young or even older, who wants to have financial freedom and make a lot of money but doesn't know how, and feels like all these online gurus are full of shit, and just wants it so bad but doesn't know where to go. I just want to share some advice from my life and what I think is really important, lessons I've learned along the way. And this isn't going to be a video about how I do what I do. There are other videos on the channel about that, but more about this, since you don't have to do what I do, but there's options out there, and these are things I wish I would have known when I was 18 or 20 and just getting into my adult life. And the first thing that I feel like you should learn, or you really want to know if you want to make a lot of money, is that aside from these content creators, which is probably one of the most lucrative business models out there, period, right now, people who make YouTube videos, things like that, almost everybody who has a lot of money, who acquires a lot of money throughout their life, a lot of them are self-made. If you look up statistics, almost all decamillionaires, or a huge percentage of them, are self-made first generation. People who own these $1 million houses around me in downtown Fort Lauderdale, a lot of them are first generation self-made decamillionaires. And that's not to say that some people aren't born into wealth, but the thing that these people all share is that they own a business, right? Business ownership, especially in the United States, but even overseas, is the most lucrative way into building generational wealth that exists. I know a lot of people also make a lot of money off of real estate, but owning a business is the key to making a ton of money in this short life that we have. And if I would have known that when I was younger, I'd probably start looking into more businesses. And the best businesses to really start that don't require a lot of capital or upfront money or resources are online businesses. I own an online business right now. I make 30 to 40 grand a month. It's not to say that I take home all that money. I probably have $10,000 a month in business expenses. I pay $5,000 a month towards taxes, and I spend a boatload of money on my apartment, which is probably stupid. I should probably buy a house. And I go on these nice vacations and all this stuff, and I pretty much support me and my spouse, or me and my wife now, fully, or almost fully. So I spend a lot of it, but I'm still able to save $50,000 to $100,000 a year net, take home into my bank. And it's because I have an online business, and there are lots of online businesses that you can start and grow. And the second kind of thing I wanted to tell you is that, like, it's very easy to be pessimistic that these people that are teaching this stuff, if you have such a great business model, why don't you just go do it, right? Why do you want to teach it? And the truth, and part of why I'm making these YouTube videos, is that there's a lot more money in teaching than there is in doing, right? I make 20 grand a month net, right? But there's people making a lot more than that who just teach for a living, and that's awesome. And I'd love to do that too. But they're not all full of shit. And some of them are, and you have to weed through that, right? But there's a lot of free information out there. You don't have to watch my channel. I don't have that much YouTube content right now for you to even really take what I'm doing and make a lot of money from it. But there are people out there with free school communities, free YouTube channels that teach you how to make money online, that they're not all full of it. Some people are actually making a lot of money and they're also teaching it. The only reason I was able to even do what I do right now is because of a guy named Max Pearson, who gave away everything that he was doing for free online because he made a lot more money from affiliate subscriptions than he made from doing what he does, right? Or doing what he used to do, which is what I do now. He gave away all the secrets and it worked. And I was able to make $5 or $6 grand a month 3.5 years ago and quit my job and go all in on what I do now. And it's because I found somebody who was giving away all the secrets online. And I'm not in the only industry that works. And I'm not in the only industry that people are making a ton of money online in. And you don't have to watch my content, but just know that the answers are out there if you really look for them and you try it. And it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And it's hard and it's grueling work. But you have to, you're gonna not like what you're doing regardless of what you do, right? That's maturity, that's being an adult, is realizing that, like, aside from these small niche content creators who usually end up not liking what they do, their passion, because they have to do it full time anyways, aside from people who probably play video games, is that, like, all jobs suck. All jobs have things you don't like about them, but you pick your poison. And I'd rather make a lot of money doing something that I don't absolutely love with a passion doing than not make a lot of money and build somebody else's business and also not enjoy it. I certainly don't want to work in a cubicle. I've done that in an office and that's terrible. But the point being is that you need to own a business. There are people who are teaching you how to make these businesses online. And if you're a go-getter, like, the information is out there. And really the third thing is that, all these business models that you start require you to sell it. Like, you have to go sell to people. I do ads and websites and I sell them to local businesses and I help them make more money. And I have to go out there and I have to market myself. I have to put myself in front of people. Like, some businesses door knock, pest control roofers, they go to people's doors and knock on them in their neighborhoods. I go to businesses and I do the same thing and I get rejection after rejection after rejection. And you have to have really thick skin to go through that. But everything that you want is on the other side of owning a business and getting good at sales. And you don't have to be sleazy and learn sales tactics. Honestly, if you have something that makes somebody's life better and can help them, you don't have to try and do sales tactics. You could just show them what it is and just be adamant that, hey, I really think I can help you, and let them make their own decision. And the third thing is, if you don't want to own a business, if you don't want to do what I do or what other people are doing online, the other way that you can make a lot of money in this world is by doing sales. And I kind of just went through, why sales doesn't always have to suck, but a lot of people might get bad sales jobs. And I think it's very similar to, like, dating, right? That you might get attracted to some sexy girl and the physical attraction is there and she reels you in and then she ends up being batshit crazy. And it's a terrible relationship. And that could be like a sales job. Somebody can reel you into doing solar sales and then you find out you have to go door knock and it's just terrible, or you have really bad management that doesn't teach you anything. They just throw you to the wolves, which, you kind of have to learn by trial by fire, but you need some guidance too. And maybe you just work for a really terrible company. You can have a really bad experience with it. And you could think that all sales is terrible. All these sales jobs are terrible. But in reality, you just had one out of a dozen that are really bad, or you had the one that was really bad. It's more than out of a dozen, by the way. But you had a bad experience. But you don't stop dating because you had a bad girlfriend. You try to go find somebody who's right for you. And in the same sense, like, if you're selling something that people actually need, it's making their life better, and you're not having to, especially if you don't have to do a lot of outreach. Some sales jobs, they give their salespeople the leads, right? If you work, my brother does RV sales. The people come in to his RV dealership wanting to be sold. That's awesome, right? And so great sales jobs exist out there as well. But that's where all the money is doing sales, and they don't all have to suck if you don't want to own a business. But the better option is just to own a business, because all these people who have all the money own businesses. And I think that's really what I wanted to share, because if I could have saw this when I was 18, I feel like I would have been inspired. And that's the truth, is if you want to make boatloads of money, you got to sell something, whether you're selling it for yourself or somebody else. And if you're selling it for yourself, you're going to get a lot more, right? But don't be pessimistic towards everything you see on the internet. Some of these people really are telling the truth and they're making a lot of money, and I'm living proof of that. So hopefully this video inspired you, and yeah, let me know if there's any kind of videos you want to see on the channel, and bye.